Stay with us here on News Channel for all the latest from both Libya as well as Morocco. But returning to an embarrassing situation for the Prime Minister now, Justin Trudeau is currently stuck in India because of problems with the official plane that he typically uses. Now, the Canadian Armed Forces sending a new plane to India to bring Trudeau home from the recent G20 summit that was held there. The Canadian delegation's flight home canceled because of a technical issue. Still not clear exactly how long it'll take to get Trudeau back home. The military is saying they hope it's going to be Wednesday so Trudeau can attend a Liberal Party retreat, a caucus retreat that's planned for London, Ontario. Our political commentator, Scott Reid, is standing by with his take. Big smile on his face. Scott, what do you think?
I'm safe in Toronto, on the runway, ready to rock.
So, what are we to make of the situation here? What do you think?
Yeah, look, I'll let you in on a secret, Todd. Sometimes it's not fun to be in government. Things break down, this happens, and people make all kinds of, wild metaphors and comparisons and say, oh my God, see, his plane is broken down. It tells you where his government's at. He can't get airborne, and yada, yada, yada. All the jokes tell themselves. And, that's just the way it goes. But what are you supposed to do? I've flown around on the Airbus, as we always called it, and those things are getting older and they break down. That's why we replaced them. And so now we are treated to the spectacle of the people that complained about us spending money to replace the planes, now complaining that we look like a laughingstock because we don't have functioning planes. But c'est la vie.
So why not replace the plane? Because you're rightly pointing out, and I've heard this from correspondents as well who travel with the Prime Minister, that plane in particular is, has had issues in the past. So what's the deal?
Well, first of all, procurement, this goes through military procurement. Military procurement of any kind is a torturous, lengthy process that subject to all sorts of checks and balances, and that's a good thing in some respects, but it can be a bad thing when it means to getting something done. In addition to that, we all know there's a big, thick layer of politics about this. The Prime Minister's buying planes for himself so that he can fly around and go to big spots around the world and feel all cushy. So, there's been a reluctance to confront these issues. And Trudeau himself took criticism when he finally bit the bullet and, paid for the new planes and said, we're going to purchase them. But they are needed. They've probably been needed for some time. And a combination of, the challenges of financing, military procurement process, and the raw politics of it has made this a long time coming.
I know that there's certain ministers in the German government who have dealt with this as well, where they were stranded too because of problems with planes. The issue here for Trudeau is to try and do this delicately. If you start flying back on a private first class plane, you're going to get lambasted. Meantime, you're kind of cooling your jets literally in India.
Yeah, literally that option of, taking some kind of alternative private travel does not exist for him. So, the Prime Minister, as a matter of, they call it the PMPD, the Prime Minister's Personal Detail, RCMP, security arrangements, they will not permit that kind of travel. You must travel on a government airplane, and that's sensible, frankly. We don't want our Prime Minister vulnerable in the air. But, look, let's be honest, this would be an asterisk, would be a footnote. If it had happened, 7 years ago when the Prime Minister was 1 year into his tenure, people would have a chuckle, shake their heads and move on. But it's now because, he's coming off of, summer horribilis. And, it's been a tough season for him. He's had a tough run. He's down in the polls. He's trailing Pierre Poilievre. Poilievre had his big convention on the weekend, cheering and being cheered like a rock star. And so it's just bad symbolism, and that, sort of sets people to jawing.
Yeah, a bad look. Okay, so I'm just curious to tap into your expertise because at one point, of course, you worked for Prime Minister Paul Martin back in the day. So this situation happens. You're stuck in India. You can't leave. So what do you do with your time? I'm sure he's not going to be out sightseeing.
Probably not. I mean, look, there's going to be, there's never an end of work for the Prime Minister, to be honest with you. So, it'll be as much as possible business as usual. He'll be doing work. And yeah, you'll go out for some curry and a cold glass of beer at night, as you would if you were in India. But the challenge for the Prime Minister, practically speaking, is he does want to be back at this national caucus that kicks off tomorrow in London, Ontario. That's not a meeting he wants to be late for, because he wants to rally his troops who are feeling a little shaken after the summer. And they've been looking at the polls. They've been watching Pierre Poilievre. They want to see their leader showing some spit and polish, showing some fire and brimstone, and a desire to kick back. And so, that will be delayed at least a day, and that creates some political headaches.
Scott Reid, political commentator on Trudeau's plane grounded in India, at least for now. Thank you for this, Scott. Good to see you.
Thanks, Todd.